Did you know your body is your friend? Treat your body with respect. Did you know your mind is your friend? Treat your mind with respect. Did you know that your emotions is your friend? Treat your emotions with respect. Did you know your soul is your friend? Treat your soul with respect. Your true friends are always with you. Treat them with respect. For thousands of years, Western's man's ego has been totally out of control. The ego should be balanced between masculine and feminine. Unfortunately, the masculine has been dominated this planet. Wars have been fought all over the world. Man likes to conquer. If each male would balance themselves with love, patience, tolerance, and compassion, this world would be in a better place. There's some of the qualities of the female ego. We should have the mixture of the two. In reality, God is not male or female. Yet, on this earth, we have that duality. Man has been taught not to express feminine qualities. The world we live in is the examples of man not being in balance. We need to solve this puzzle. Did you know God doesn't get involved in politics? It's way too messy. Both sides need to be tolerant of one another. During the presidential campaign, it was way out of control. A huge emotional battle occurred. Even after the election occurred, the battle was still going on. It seems like man can't control his emotions. The ugliness of man came out. How could a dear friend of mine call the president a prick? We have created a great monster. Only by using tolerance can we destroy the monster. A person who is tolerant sees both sides of the story. He will never degrade you. He will never lie to you. Even if he completely disagrees with your principles, he will not demean you. Be kind to your fellow man. Be tolerant of one another. This world needs it. At times, I think newborn mothers should be in the dominant force in ruling us. Imagine, a newborn mother will never want her infant to go to war. She would say, war is obsolete. Let's find a better way to solve this problem. A mother has the best interest to educate the children. She doesn't want anyone to go hungry. Both sides of the parties wouldn't fight one another. Mothers know how to compromise. They have the best interest in mind. They would have term limits so nobody would get greedy in power. We have seen what happens today with term limits. A mother would have patience, tolerance, compassion, and love. These are the qualities which are needed by the rulers today. We do not need rulers who have no respect for one another. We don't need rulers who mock those who disagree with you. We don't need rulers who say, I could shoot someone in the street and they would still vote for me. We need to change. I like my solution. Last night, I watched the evening news on Christmas Day. The news for the day was man doing good deeds for one another. No shooting or murder was shown. Just simple acts of kindness. Just one human being helping out another. We need to see this more on TV. I know violence sells, yet this goes beyond the money. Let's create hope in the news. Let's change the channel of violence to a channel of good deeds. Imagine if every night we would watch good news. How much would our attitude of the world change? Random acts of kindness to our fellow man. A simple smile to someone who is sad. Helping an elderly person crossing the street. If we all perform good deeds with one another, this world would change. There would be peace on earth. Is our life on remote control? We're so driven and distracted by our devices. We can't live without our cell phones. People have died from texting. Is it really worth that message you texted while you died so young? We have completely forgotten our true nature. Okay, so Facebook is cool, but living your life moment by moment is really cool. You are the universe, yet your life is on remote control. What could be sadder? You can solve this puzzle. Making friends with dragons. Did you know that in the East, the young kids would make friends with dragons? Mind you, this was a long time ago. Not in the West, dragons were considered hateful creatures. They hoarded their gold and killed many people. In the East, dragons were considered wise creatures. They lived thousands of years. They understood the great treasures of life. The dragons knew the great secrets of the universe. They knew that the universe was kind. They became one with kindness. They knew the universe's love and compassion. They became one with love and compassion. They knew that the universe was patient and full of tolerance. They became one with patience and tolerance. All the universe was, they became. You see, not only humans can find God. The dragons meditated for thousands of years. They had the same problems we do. Just look at the Western dragons. They were hoarding external treasures, yet they never found the treasures within. They fought with one another. They had the same miserable problems we had. Some bold dragons left the West and decided to move to the East. They went higher into the mountains and began to meditate. Thank God they were fire dragons. and it was freezing up there. They lived in caves. For thousands of years, they meditated. Over time, they discovered their true nature. Over time, word got out about these magnificent dragons. Children would flock to the entrance of the caves and ask, "Could you please come and play with us?" Who could resist the calling of children? Slowly, the dragons came out. They became friends. The dragons taught them the mysteries of life. One of the students was Latsu. He eventually became a great master. He understood the great secrets of the universe. His wisdom is still alive today. In China today, the dragon is still revered. The dragon helped man to discover his true nature. You see, back then, and even today, man is lost. He has yet to find his way. Anyway, going back to the story. Because the dragons lived for thousands of years, they trained hundreds of generations. These young children grew up and died learning about their true nature. Harmony was around. You could say this was the first golden age. Man lived in harmony with nature. Man lived in harmony with the universe. Imagine the universe is playing an incredible song, and man was in harmony with this song. We knew we weren't alone. We knew we were a piece of the puzzle. There I am with that piece of puzzle again. But the dragons showed us how to discover this piece of the puzzle inside of us. What could be more incredible than that? The dragons still exist today. They left this world many moons ago, yet they exist inside of your heart. Ponder this over. The dragons are your true friends. For every surfer's dream would have the chance to surf in spots around the world. I've been fortunate. I've been able to do that. I surfed in California, Mexico, Hawaii, Brazil, Peru, Ecuador, France, Spain, and South Africa. Probably one of the best ways I ever surfed was in Peru. When I was in high school, I went to a good friend's house named Nick Roth. Well, Nick had this surfer magazine, and both of us saw these pictures of Chacama, Peru. In this picture was a left point break with about 10 waves breaking on this huge point. The picture was so awesome that my dream was someday I would be able to go there. Well, years later, I made it there. The place is called Chacama. It's located in a small fishing village about 10 hours north of Lima, the capital. Chacama, on a good day, is one of God's wonders to the world. The ride, on a good day, is probably 1 mile. It breaks on a sandy bottom. The wind is always offshore. When I was there, a crowded day, was 4 people in the water. I met this Argentine surfer who we became good friends. I stayed at this funky hotel-like shack for 2 weeks. The entire time it cost me $30. The people were extremely friendly. I'll never forget surfing this place with my Argentine friend. We would wake up early in the morning and just catch wave after wave. The water was like California on a summer day, cold but just right. At lunch every day I would have rice, vegetables, and of course fresh fish. Peru reminded me of California in the mid-50s. The coastline was still very remote. Surfing to me has always been a wonderful experience. I feel completely at home in the water. Surfers all around the world have a common bond. Words just can't describe it. I come from a generation where surfing is more like a surfing spiritual experience. I remember days with my brother where after each wave you'll be so happy you can hardly paddle back out. There's nothing like being on a wave where the wave just tubes over you. All you can see is a small light at the end of the tunnel. The sound inside is so serene. Then you come gushing out. Talking about joy. I feel surfing allows me to be in harmony with nature. Living in Hawaii, I'm at the door before sunrise so I can be the first one out in the water. It's such a glorious feeling to be out there riding alone. The sunrises are very special. You're out in the water seeing God's paintbrush in the sky. A few of your friends paddle out and you're in bliss. We know that we are fortunate. At times in my life, I have the opportunity to surf the wave inside of us. I remember riding a rainbow-colored wave that was alive. This wave was joy itself. It carried me with so much love. I remember closing my eyes when I was taken to another dimension. I was in this cosmic sea. Just like water, but it wasn't. You could call it a light essence. Anyway, I had this golden surfboard I remember taking off on waves and riding for infinity. The joy and sensation was incredible. As the wave was breaking, this incredible music came out. You can get locked in for a few minutes on end. Inside, you felt totally one with the wave. The wave was conscious and so were you. I'll never forget that experience. It only happened probably 3 or 4 times. I'll probably surf the rest of my life. I'm over 40 and yet I can still be in the water for 68 hours straight. The only reason I don't stay more, and I also have a family. Surfing has been real good to me. It kept me out of a lot of trouble in high school. While my friends were partying, I was out in the ocean. We are all one tribe. We are all human beings. We may have different skin colors, yet our blood is red. We are all united by a thread of love. The same life force that is keeping me alive is keeping you alive. In fact, we are the universe. We just don't know it. This is how far off track we have gone. For thousands of years, man has been fighting with each other. We still haven't learned our lessons. War is obsolete. War is from the past. We don't realize that we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Your so-called enemy, in reality, is a part of yourself. Remember, you are a part of the universe. You are fighting with yourself. I know it doesn't make sense, but talk to a scientist today. They believe in quantum energy. There's an energy that is beyond time and space. You and all of life is part of this energy. You were never created, nor will you ever die. Your body will, yet your true essence will never die. The reason why we think man is different is that we don't see the unity of life. We have become lost and think we are found. We think we have all the answers. Our ego gets in the way. Your ego needs to be tamed. Look at what happens currently when we have a president whose ego is out of control. Need I say more? The ancient one said that mastering the mind and ego is the most difficult thing to do. They were correct. If each one of us truly did this, there would be peace on earth. Yes, there still would be conflicts, but there would be peaceful conflicts. Big difference between peace and war. Today we have external wars of hate and anger, and internal wars of hate and anger. All wars stem from the internal. Our egos and our thoughts and emotions lead us to war. Our ego and hate leads us astray. We only see the differences in man. We don't see the unity of man. We are all one tribe. Ponder this over. You are a piece of the puzzle. One day in Arizona, I had this incredible vivid dream. I dreamt that Sai Baba was sick. For those of you who don't know, Sai Baba is a great Indian saint. He has the ability to manifest jewels from his hands. He has millions of followers in the world. Sai Baba was very sick in my dream. There were a lot of people around him in my dream. He came up to me and said, "Only you can heal me." As soon as he said that, I felt a tremendous energy flowing from within my being. I placed my hands toward him, and he started to send energy inside of his body. His whole body was shaking. After a few moments, he was healed. The love that was flowing between us was incredible. I felt this incredible wave of love flowing into me. My whole being was saturated with this experience. It was more than a dream. I really can't put that experience in words, but it was absolutely incredible. About 3 months earlier, I took this incredible healing course. There, the instructor told me that I would receive a great gift from Sai Baba. 3 months later, this experience came to me. I have learned since then to have respect for all teachers. We can all learn from each other. I certainly don't have all the answers. I don't know anyone who does. Each of us has something special to offer this world. Let me introduce Zoran. Zoran is an entity who is known in other dimensions as Logos. Logos on this planet comes from the Greek word which means word or power. The Bible talks about Logos as the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Zoran was the personification of that Word. The first time I met him was in Phoenix, Arizona. A few of my friends saw him and said I might like to see him. They said he was real different and liked to teach with toes. Zoran is channeled by Makar. When he comes into her body, he takes over much like Mafu. Anyway, we arrived late to the hall. I see the program has started. From a loudspeaker, I hear a voice which sounds like Mafu. I'm thrown for a loop and ask myself, why is Mafu's tape being broadcasted through the sound system? I sit down and see that this voice is actually Zoran. I love the way Zoran was. This whole teaching was through games and laughter. He had all these stuffed toys that he would hand out. At one part of the program, he started to pull out people from the audience. He pulled me out and gave me an orange ball. He then proceeded to ask each one of us what this toy meant to you. When he came to me, he asked me about the orange ball he gave me.
I told him that orange represents collagen, the substance which ties the cells together. Without collagen, the cells would fall apart. This ball represents a life force which keeps the entire universe together, otherwise it would fall apart. He just laughed and blinked his eyes and said, "Good answer." That night I was very intrigued by Zoran. I knew that we were best of friends. I wanted to talk to him personally. The following day, a meeting was arranged. The first part of the meeting was spent in such laughter. People outside the rooms, it was like an auditory of people laughing. There was only 3 of us. At one point, Zoran said, "If I laugh anymore, we'll have to leave this physical body. It will cause damage to her body." At this time, the tone became more serious. I learned I was a student of his at a planet called Newtonus. This school was learning about the ways to split open the atom using one's mind. The school was built on practical experience. It was truly a mystery school. Makar and I were both students in this school. Zoran told me many wonderful things. We became real good friends. At one of the seminars, he had always called me. I became a friend just like the good old days. I remember one day he asked me, "What do you think about women?" "Why," I said, "I want to solve that mystery." He said that someone special was going to happen and that very soon I would meet the woman of my dreams. The next day, I had a dream where I met my future wife, Barbara. A voice came to her and said, "When you meet this person, you should get to know them." A month later, I was staying at a friend's house and Barbara walked into the house. I recognized her at once. I played it quite cool because I knew that destiny would be played out. The rest is history. Zoran taught me a lot of techniques of getting in touch with myself. His whole style was through laughter. He said that laughter and joy create such a frequency that it sinks in subconsciously. He had a great analogy that when you go to the bathroom, you don't inspect your stools. He said so many people struggle to reach happiness. Life is not a struggle. Life is not a battle. Life is fun and humorous. I never laughed as much as with Zoran. He taught me a new angle of life. After I had the dream about Barbara, I just let it go for a month. It was kind of strange, but my daughter was the first one to meet Barbara. One night I wasn't feeling too well. My daughter went to a friend's house. At this house, my daughter met Barbara. It was kind of funny. It was only 2 trailers away from me. She was here from the Washington area. She felt in Arizona she was going to meet the man of her dreams. She was planning to go to Egypt on vacation, but her intuition told her to go to Arizona. She ended up in Sedona. A month later, Chandra and I went to a one-day Zoran seminar. I spent the night at a good friend's house. Upon waking up the next morning, I saw Barbara. As soon as I saw her, I recognized her from my dreams. Immediately, I thought of the conversation I had with Zoran. I just chuckled inside. I didn't say anything about experience to her. Well, Barbara went back to Sedona, and I stayed in Phoenix. A few days later, I get this phone call from Barbara. She wanted to know if she could rent my trailer in Sedona. I was planning to spend a month in Phoenix. I said, "I'll think about it. I'll call you back." I called back the following day and said, "Sure." A month later, I went back to Sedona. I thought this should be very interesting. Barbara knew I was coming and decided to spend the night at her friend's house. Well, the next day, Barbara and I met again. We talked the entire day and decided to go rent a video. We came back to the house and both of us laid down and started to watch the video. Around midpoint of the movie, I held her hand and both of us felt this incredible energy rush towards us. We were both complete. It was amazing how one touch can change a person's life. From that moment on, we both knew something incredible was going to happen. At that point in my life, I knew I wanted a real, satisfying relationship. I wanted another child. I wanted to be married again. Barbara told me she couldn't have children. She tied for 10 years with her former husband and couldn't conceive. She went to fraternity clinics and took the necessary treatments, but nothing happened. I thought, well, having a meaningful relationship might be enough. We spent the early winter in Sedona. On New Year's Eve, I had this Sai Baba dream. The last thing I was told by Sai Baba was I was going to move to San Diego. The next morning, both of us woke, and we said to each other, well, where do you think we're going to move? Both of us said, San Diego. That same night, Barbara had a dream where she was told we should move to San Diego.
My wife and I love to go to Barnes & Noble. We love to relax in our comfy chairs and look at books and magazines. My wife likes to look at the Sedona Journal. She keeps telling me about Cryon, who's channeled by Lee Carroll. She probably told me around 5 times, and finally I said, okay, I'll take a look. At first I wasn't impressed. He would always start by a standard greeting. Greetings, dear one. I'm Cryon of Magnetic Service. I was thrown a curveball because I really didn't understand this concept. The more I read the channel material, the more I understood this incredible message. Imagine all the past great masters unifying themselves into the magnetic grid of this planet. You might say, so what? Imagine so many great masters said they would be returning back to Earth and help human beings to realize their true nature. The more I heard and listened with an open heart, I realized this was indeed true. Can you imagine that this magnetic grid is built with the love of God? If we didn't have a magnetic grid surrounding the human being, the Earth, human beings would no longer be alive. This is the problem of space travel. They need to simulate the magnetics of the Earth. We have this incredible DNA. Scientists have broken the code and said that 93% of our DNA is junk DNA. Cryon has said it's not junk DNA, but multidimensional DNA. This is a huge difference. Cryon has written a book called The 12 Layers of DNA. I highly suggest that you read this book. Your life will change if you do. Magnetics from our DNA and the magnetics from Gaia, Mother Earth, are in communication with one another. I know this sounds incredible, but it's true. This is a small part of the story. Cryon's main message is that you don't need any teacher or guru to find your way home. All the tools exist inside of you. All of humanity believes in a higher self, yet we go on a merry way without even trying to connect to it. Imagine this higher self is multidimensional. What does that mean? You are the sun, the moon, and the stars. You are the universe. You are God. Because you are linear, you say, I'm George, or I'm Barbara. Who are you really? That is the puzzle of life. On the other side is the multidimensional energy, or cosmic soup, which contains all. Can you take salt out of a soup? You can't. We have the higher self inside of us, and yet we think we are alone. We are never alone. Because of free choice, we have closed the door and continue to search for God outside of ourselves. This is the incredible game that God set up. We are the ones with our intent that request to open the door to our higher selves and discover who we truly are. Imagine the entire universe is supporting us, but can't say or do anything until we consciously give intent and begin this process of self-discovery. What's beautiful about this process is how peace on earth will happen. By changing yourself and by discovering yourself, you will truly radiate love, tolerance, and compassion to all. You will be a human being. You won't try to convert anyone because life does not need anyone to be converted. A lighthouse just shines. It doesn't know that the ship that sails by
The lighthouse exists in dangerous shores, yet it shines the light so bright that it helps protect the boat to reach the harbor. I could go on and on. The past year has been extremely slow at work, and I had the wonderful opportunity to listen and read this wonderful material. My understanding and practical experience has grown exponentially. Words cannot describe how my relationship to this planet, the universe, and to God has been so personal. This is an incredible time to be alive. Peace will be on this planet. It may not seem like it, but peace will prevail.
I drew these characters from families and friends that I have. Each one of these have the characteristics of what is being portrayed. Zoran and friends. Let's step back and see the major characters in the story. We know about Zoran. Zoran was the major reason why some of the dragons left with him. Zoran didn't have a choice. He was booted out. That was the first time in history that a dragon got booted out. There were little Johnny and Ricky. They both left with Zoran and never turned back. They were both highly involved and full of wisdom. They mostly kept to themselves. To be honest, they had a hard time relating to the dragon culture. At times, they felt they were strangers in a strange land. They were both born twins. Both of them knew that they came from the stars. They loved to fly at night together and gaze at the stars. They especially loved to stare at the Pleiades and Orion constellation. Somehow, they felt a deep connection to the seven sisters. They both knew that the Pleiades went through major shifts millions of years ago. They started out like the dragons with anger, war, and greed. It took over 1 million years for the civilization to transform. When they did, they became as the civilization one with the stars. No words can describe that. Barbara was another incredible dragon. She was also very pure. Her mind was extremely developed. She would be considered a genius today. She thought outside of the box. Many other dragons thought she was a stranger. She didn't belong in the dragon world. She had a heart of gold. Barbara was beautiful. She was golden. If he had eyes to see, he would see light shining from within. Only a few dragons could see her true nature and rays of light. Most of the dragons didn't have eyes to see. Barbara was a trailblazer. She saw trails that were never walked on before. There was another trailblazer, Makara. Makara was a female dragon. She was highly developed and psychic. Yet she had tremendous love and compassion. You see, not all dragons were mean, but she was a misfit. Dragons couldn't understand her. One of the dark will never understand the light. Makar and Barbara were best of friends. They talked about the time they created light grid systems millions of years before the universe even got created. Einstein would have loved them. Of course, the rest of the dragon community couldn't relate to them. Both of them would have been considered nerds today. Their knowledge and wisdom level was 1,000 times more than a person with a PhD today. Kathy was another female dragon. She was quite colorful. She had colors of pink, orange, and red. She was extremely funny. She also knew how to put wood on the fire. She was like a rebel today. She was definitely non-conforming to the dragon world. An interesting fact while living in Hawaii, my wife and I met Kathy. She had dragon tattoos all over her body. She also told my wife in a conversation that she came from the dragon world. Her husband drove a Charlie motorcycle. Our society would say she was a rebel. She also had a heart of gold. Shay was a male dragon. Little Ricky and Car were his friends. Shay served in the warring factions of the dragons. He was quite fierce. You definitely didn't want to face him in battle. Despite this, Shay had a yearning for the unknown. He was one of the first to learn how to meditate from Zoran. He couldn't tell anyone. Nobody back then even knew what meditation was. If it was different and not the norm, the best idea was to shut up and not say a thing. Some things never change. Shay was another dragon who yearned for the stars. Both Zoran and Shay loved to fly at night and gaze at the stars. Both of them knew that they came from the stars. They knew they were stardust. It was quite odd, but both of them had an affinity for the Pleiades. At this time, hardly any dragons would look to the stars. They were too busy hoarding and fighting for gold. David was another inquisitive dragon. He had a highly developed spiritual and scientific mind. He was highly evolved for a dragon. He somehow knew about the laws of the universe. It became second nature to him. He had visions of creating pyramids long before his time. He was developing a new system of medicine thousands of years before helping man discover it. You see, David helped in bringing Tai Chi, Qigong, the healing arts, and acupuncture. He invented moxa. If the dragons got injured in battle, he would put herbs on the wounds and light them on fire using his fiery breath. Thousands of years later, he would introduce these healing systems to man. Hanali was another female dragon. She and little Johnny became great friends. Later in life, they even became mates. There was a famous folk song in the city in the 60s that talked about Puff the Magic Dragon. They mentioned in the land of Hanali. Hanali became a famous dragon and was well known throughout the land. Two other dragons came along on this incredible journey, Aaliyah and Leilani. They were both stepsisters. Aaliyah, of God, had a heart of gold. She stood up for others and stopped the bullying when she saw it. She called a spade a spade. She wouldn't allow it. Of course, the boy dragons were shocked. This beautiful young female dragon spoke with so much force and authority, the boys stopped in their tracks and sheepishly walked away. Over time, the boys stopped their bullying. The lessons were learned. Aaliyah became a great teacher for both the dragons and man. She lived for thousands of years. Aaliyah enlightened at quite a young age. She is still known throughout China and Tibet, yet she is known by another name. Leilani was just 4 years older than Aaliyah. She had the same kind nature. She also stood up for the less unfortunate. She believed in the unity of dragons. She knew that anger, war, and greed was tearing the dragon world apart. At a young age, she also yearned for the stars. She knew she was stardust. She knew that the universe existed inside. At the point in time, she couldn't prove it, but she had the intuition. Leilani also became famous throughout China and Tibet. Her name means heavenly flower. David Schweitzer and I have been friends for many moons. He is an exceptional acupuncture. Hope you enjoy this story.
David the Dragon. Hi, I'm David the Dragon. I'm best of friends with Little Ricky. You read about me in the story. I'm over 5,000 years old. I'm still young at heart. You see, I take care of myself. Where I come from, the British Isles, the dragons really didn't have any common sense. You could say common sense is uncommon. Where I come from, the dragons didn't exercise or eat good foods. They partied all throughout the night. To be frank, they didn't have a clue about universal laws. They were only interested in acquiring stolen treasure and fighting. Boy, what kind of existence is that? When we flew from the west to the east, our entire lifestyle changed for the better. We started to take a look at how to make a better life for the dragons. As you see, only young dragons came with us. The rest were stuck in their old ways. Quite frankly, they had no desire to change. They liked misery. Well, we decided to have a grand adventure. We learned how to meditate from Zoran, and the rest is history. We learned very young that life is an external and internal adventure. Bet you nobody told you that. We came to a point where we could see energy all around us and in us. That there was a block over time, disease would take place. You see, in the bodies of humans and dragons lie a vast number of rivers and streams. In a healthy body, these rivers and streams are flowing properly. But the more ones have a life out of balance, these rivers and streams get clogged up and don't flow properly. The water over time becomes stagnant and mosquitoes can fester. This is where disease manifests. Here's an example of anger. When a person is always angry, this blocks the rivers and streams inside the body. Over time, the body becomes angry and can fight against itself. You call this cancer. Cancer is angry cells. We discovered a long time ago that by using needles at a certain point on the body, we can begin to unblock the rivers and streams. Yet the acupuncturist can help to unblock these dams, yet it's up to you to change, modify, and learn how to be healthy. In the West, you go to a doctor and take the medicine, your symptoms go away, your drugs have side effects, the patient takes no responsibility. No wonder your system is messed up. A wise person begins to listen within and change accordingly. This person realizes that proper rest is the key. In the West, sleep and rest is sort of a nuisance. They don't have the understanding of how important it is. In order for the body to heal and repair, it needs rest. Period. We live such a fast pace, we have forgotten why we need sleep and rest in the first place. The acupuncture during this time had an easy job. He knew how to break the dam and let the waters flow properly. He might give some healing herbs to the child. The child understood completely that the acupuncturist could only assist so far in the process. She knew that it was up to her to follow through and live day by day the natural laws of life. You see, their culture was understanding and practicing every moment these natural laws. Unfortunately, in our world, today's man has lost touch with his true nature. Consequently, disease is quite common. Our herbs that are given out are organic and have no side effects. They're extremely beneficial in helping the body to balance. Your Western medicine has extreme side effects and can cause death. Listen to the commercials today and you will hear a lovely voice telling all the side effects that drugs have. They are concerned to make a profit. That is the bottom line. No, kids, listen to this story. Only your generation can change this wacky system. You can look at different and natural ways. You can see chemicals are the least effective ways for healing. Their scientists know about energy, but at the present moment, only a few doctors are researching about the power of energy. This is where acupuncture comes in. In the future, there will be myriads of different discoveries and inventions. The more a society becomes more aware, the more the discoveries can occur. You see, only in an open society can change occur for the better. These new discoveries can be used for good, or they can be a complete disaster. The nuclear bomb is a prime example. The genie got loose, and now the world is trying to find out how to rein in the genie. You see, your world has a lot to learn. Imagine most of the world is looking externally, but the jewel lies within. You need a balance between the external and internal. Millions of people are waking up to this fact. At a certain point in time, when humanity truly understands this, your inventions will be so-called a miracle in life. In fact, they aren't miracles in life, but your understanding is at a different level. Your cell phone would be considered a gift from God 500 years ago. I bet each one of you kids knows how to operate one. You have no problems with that. In the same way, the more you understand the laws of the universe, more incredible inventions will come your way. Nature wants to give her incredible gifts, but you have to be in sync to receive them. Anger, war, and greed will never be the way to discover these gifts. For thousands of years, war is not the answer. It has never solved anything, and never will. Only the kids can truly change for the better. Hopefully, you will listen to this story and remember your generation can change for the better. The seeds have been planted many millions of years ago. You can be the fruit that can change this world. Remember, you are never alone. Someday you will realize this. You will see that all of humanity and the dragons are in the same boat together. You are the universe. You just don't know it.
I wrote this for my dear friend, Charlie. He's been sick for a while. He is still alive today. I wrote this to cheer him up. We have been great friends, yet I haven't seen him for over 30 years. Charlie, the dragon. Charlie came in contact with the dragons here 5,000 years later. Much to say, our simple cave transformed quite dramatically in 5,000 years. Our simple cave was a vast underground city, or around 2 million people who were living here. It was the golden age of man and dragons. Our city name was Shambhala. Most have changed. Our way of life is so far advanced that anything has been seen on Earth. War was thousands of years behind us. It was a fate, memory, and time. Charlie was an incredible dragon trader. He had hundreds of dragons moving exotic fruits all around the world. He studied for years with a master dragon teacher who taught him how to meditate and be one with the universe. Both little Ricky and little Johnny became friends immediately as they met. Charlie came from South America, from the land of Peru. Both of them were on the same wavelength in life. They shared a common bond which could never be broken. Charlie was trading the following fruits: chirimoya, mangoes, pitahaya, dragon fruit, guava, and papaya. Both little Johnny and little Ricky never tasted anything so delicious. It became an instant hit in Shambhala. Everyone was talking about it. Charlie and the twin dragons loved to fly together and meditate. Charlie knew how to fly like he was on a super roller coaster. He knew how to use G-forces to do incredible maneuvers like upside-down loops you see in roller coasters today. He had a Latin flair to him. Charlie came and traded with us about 2 times a year. He had busy trade routes he established. Charlie started the Silk Road trade route years ago, and by chance discovered a conversation about the hidden city of Shambhala. Most in China and Tibet hear about our hidden city, but thought it was a myth. Charlie loved adventure. He wasn't only a business dragon, he was incredible with the arts and music. He told me one adventure that left my brother and I quite mesmerized. You see, in Peru, youngsters, humans, love to ride the ocean waves, much like dragons fly in the sky. He discovered a place in Chacama, a small, sleeping fishing village. Here, along the beach, was a vast point where you could see 10 waves breaking in the distance. The waves would follow the coastline for a mile. It was the longest wave in the world. Charlie was friends of most of the surfers. They were the farmers that grew the exotic fruit. The surfers taught Charlie how to body surf. On huge days, Charlie would swoop down from the sky and gather so much speed he could easily catch any wave. He invented the modern-day jet skiing years ahead of his time. Charlie would ride this wave for miles, laughing and giggling the entire time. All the surfers would clap their hands in delight. Charlie brought little Ricky and little Johnny to Chacama. Remember, they were both around 5,000 years old, but they were young at heart. Little Ricky and little Johnny spent the entire day catching one wave after another. They would always say, "Just one more, and we'll call it quits for the day." The surfers provided a feast in honor of the twins coming to their country. Now little Ricky loves to try anything that was different. The surfers provided a feast that dragons and man are still talking about today. Little Ricky still remembers it. Charlie introduced the twins to the hidden dragon community. The dragons and man never fought with each other. They became friends from the beginning of time. Both of their cultures totally respected Mother Earth Gaia. At that time, both man and dragons would hold sacred ceremonies, prayers, and meditate together. They realized the connection between the earth and stars. You see, they knew they were stardust. They came from the stars. Meditation was the doorway to the universe within. Charlie took little Ricky and little Johnny on a tour of Americas. They saw vast civilizations in Guatemala and Mexico. They saw great pyramids all over the place. You see, David had the vision of the dragon become a reality all over the world. Charlie took them to Florida, where life was so simple. The Indians loved the dragons visiting them. They went to Malibu, where the Chamush Indians lived. They taught the Indians how to surf the long waves during the summertime. The natives would love to watch the dragons riding the waves. You see, they only fished along the shore. This became a hit with the young locals. People are still talking about it today. At some point in time, Charlie moved to Canada, a city called Toronto. He settled down, married, and had children. Everyone loved Charlie. He gave life to the party. He loved his children and wife. Of course, he had many friends. Boy, did he have stories to tell. He could probably talk the rest of his life about his incredible journeys around the world. By this time, Charlie became one with the sun, moon, and stars. He was still in the dragon body. You could say he was enlightened. He discovered his true nature. You see, there's a point where you simply shine. Charlie just smiled and shined like the sun. The Gerstners. On Saturday, my wife Barbara and I were invited to the Gerstners' house for a birthday and Christmas celebration. A few months ago, they moved into their brand new house. I worked with George for 2 years at the USDA. That was 6 years ago. George used to make Cuban coffee at work. His family was originally from Cuba. It was Madhu's birthday, while George was a few days ago. We had an incredible time. The Gerstner family welcomed us with open arms. I learned where George got his humor from. His uncle was there and told many incredible jokes. We took a tour of their new house. I would like to thank the Gerstners for inviting us and sharing the Christmas spirit with us. It was a great joy for us.